Yemen. Find those details at rt.com. For now, to the American city of Baltimore, which has witnessed a third consecutive day of protests over the death of a 25-year-old black man who was being held in police custody.
What do we want? Justice! And when do we want it? Now!
Demonstrators marched on City Hall and the police department, chanting Black Lives Matter and No Justice, No Peace. Freddie Gray died on Sunday from a spinal injury that he's thought to have sustained while being arrested. And people are now demanding answers about what happened. RT's Hanya reports from the march.
I've been here for the past 2 days also speaking to activists, and they are saying the same thing they said on Monday, the same thing they said on Tuesday. Very simple demands. They demand answers. They demand justice for Freddie Gray, and there's been no progress and no show of leadership from the mayor and the commissioner here, they tell me. So their demands haven't changed much because they haven't gotten much from their government here so far.
We want peace for that brother, and it ain't about him. It's about you, it's about me, it's about everybody. We want justice. That's all we want. We want justice. We want justice, and we ain't gonna stop until we get it. That's all we asking for.
We're not saying go out and harm no police or nothing. What we're saying is be accountable for your actions.
So many groups that have organized here, they're following the lead of the Freddie Gray's family. They'll tell activists and the community here where they want them to be. And so far they're telling me until they have answers, they're going to continue to come out here. And it's important, like I said, there's no one singular group leading these protests. That's not to say they're not organized. They are very organized, they're effective, they show up where they say they're going to and they march where they're going to. And I think we're going to turn now. There's a demonstration in the street that I want you guys to see.
No peace! No peace!
You can hear them say no justice, no peace.
All night, all day, we gon' fight for Freddie Gray. All night, all day, we gon' fight for Freddie Gray.
Freddie Gray was detained on April the 12th. He was handcuffed and forcefully dragged into a police van. Exactly when he sustained the fatal injury remains unclear, but his spine was 80% severed at the neck. RT's Ben Swan spoke to the Gray family's attorney.
What do we know about the injuries that led to his death at this point?
Well, what we know is that he was healthy before he came in contact with the police. Before he was unlawfully arrested, he was a healthy 25-year-old man. And after the police unlawfully arrested him, there was a severe injury to his spinal cord, and he died from those injuries. Those are facts. That's what we know.
So one of the questions that we're also raising is the fact that Freddie was arrested, I believe, just a few blocks from here. Sure. It looks like it was a very short distance over here to the Western Police Department, and yet 40 minutes go by from the time that he's arrested to the time that an ambulance is called.
Right.
Any explanation for that so far?
Absolutely not. The police department should be made to answer that particular question. If he asked for an inhaler, as they said he did, then why wasn't he immediately given medical attention? Immediately, why did so much time pass? If there was ever a question as to why a young black male would run from the police, this case answers that question. Because if you don't, you may be injured. That's a reason why young black men run from the police in the city.
Mr. Gray was allegedly detained without any evidence of a crime after police, quote, made eye contact with him. Matthew Fogg, a retired chief deputy U.S. Marshal, says the officer's actions raise many questions.
The issue here is what was the probable cause for them to even stop him or to go after him? So that's the first point is, no, that's not a crime to run from the police. What happened after that? The guy was injured, whatever it was. They should have called for emergency equipment to come in and look at this man. That's the first thing we're trained is, and to be able to look this person over because that covers us in liability. So that wasn't even done. And on top of that, the man is yelling, screaming, hollering that he's obviously in pain. They're dragging his body over. And then one of the officers literally, I didn't hear anybody speak about this, but if you see on the camera, one of the officers literally throws the bird up and apparently maneuver with his hand to the public. There's a lot of questions here. There's a lot of things to be brought out.
Well, as the U.S. deals with nationwide protests against police brutality, the Pentagon is preparing to hold mass military drills across 7 southern states. The exercise involves well over 1,000 troops, and many of those concerned about the idea of soldiers on their streets have taken to the social media outlets. One user questioned whether the drills are simply a step towards martial law. Another compared the exercises to an invasion on U.S. soil, urging people to make themselves more informed. While those who do know what's happening say their concern is actually growing all the time. RT's Chichikan now investigating these unprecedented drills.
U.S. National Guard troops have stepped up exercises around the country. On April 19th, a group of friendly men and women were filmed marching with rifles into a local playground. Last week, National Guard troops in California were filmed marching down the street in a peaceful-looking neighborhood. The California National Guard was preparing for an emergency response. Riot control was part of their drill. This video from Florida shows martial law style training with helicopters and everything, and armed troops arresting role players and escorting them presumably to a mock prison. Now, aside from the National Guard training, this summer, 7 states will become a mock battleground for multiple branches of the U.S. military, as they will be participating in drills that will last 2 months. The operation is called Jade Helm. And here's their theater of operations as proposed by the U.S. Army Special Operations Command. The exercise, in which some participants will be, quote, wearing civilian clothes and driving civilian vehicles, labels Texas and Utah as hostile territory, all for training purposes. They will also have a mock insurgent pocket in California that the troops will be dealing with somehow. What kind of an insurgency they will be training for is not clear. Now, those are just drills with troops practicing inside of their own country. Many of those towns and cities are perfectly fine with the drills, but some are worried.
I'm very concerned as well about this military exercise whereby special operations troops are going to be interfacing with our local militarized police forces in our local communities. Our police forces have been militarized, and unfortunately, they've been trained and conditioned to believe that the concerned citizen is their enemy.
The concerns that some have voiced about the drills come in light of the protests in Ferguson, where, as you remember, hundreds of troops were deployed onto the streets of that small town in Missouri, which made it look like a war zone. In Washington, I'm Chichikan, RT.
Yeah, lots of news for you on this Thursday here on RT International. After a very quick break, we're back, including a story on a bill on cybersecurity. It was passed by the U.S. House of Representatives, though it is worrying privacy activists. We're back in a sec.